Ow. Dang it. Oh, no. Come on in. Because now it's time to learn, to cook, to taste. This is To Taste, the cooking podcast where every episode dives deep into a different food. I'm your host, Cody Reiss, and today's episode is about cake. Chocolate cake, vanilla cake, carrot cake, cake. Featuring special guest Sasha Piligian. Now, Sasha is a pastry chef who's worked at Justa and Squirrel, and now has her own baking business in Los Angeles, making beautiful baked goods, highlighting local produce and whole grains from the farmer's market. I've always been a bit intimidated by baking, and I've never really made an amazing cake, so I was super excited to talk to Sasha and learn a bit about the basics of cake cookery. I learned a lot, and I hope you do too, and without further ado, here's my conversation with Sasha. What is your ideal cake?
Well, I have like two ideal cakes. One is like a super light, airy sponge cake, which uses egg whites as the lifter mostly. And I am like always a sucker for a really good olive oil cake, which we always have in rotation. I've been making those for a million years. I guess everything is like either oil-based or egg-based.
Can you pull out a little more about like what is your ideal sponge cake like in terms of like texture, frosting ratio, the experience of eating it?
I guess the sponge cake, it's, very tender crumb, squishy, like super light and airy. And then like an olive oil cake is got like a tighter, dense crumb, but not dense in a bad way. Just structurally more sound, I would say. Something that you can mix in a bowl. You don't need a mixer. Super easy to throw together. I might suggest that for you.
Okay, quick pause. Sasha is lightly roasting me here because the night before I sent her pictures of a cake I tried to make without a recipe. The only thing I had to bake it in was a Le Creuset Dutch oven, and it ended up about half an inch tall, a bit slimy, and rubbery, firm enough that you could hold it and toss it around like a Frisbee. So yeah, in short, it was a total failure, and that's why she's recommending I start with something easy. Can you walk me through like the process of making an oil cake?
Okay, so typically with an oil cake, you'll have your wet ingredients in a bowl and you'll have your dry ingredients in a bowl. So the wet ingredients would be the sugar, which is not wet, but typically the sugar, because you want to break down the sugar with the liquid. So it's sugar, eggs, the oil, which can be olive oil, a neutral oil, whatever oil you want. If you want to infuse that with anything like lemon zest, whatever, you should put it with the sugar. So it infuses more. Then you would add the other fat, meaning like yogurt, milk, sour cream.
One of the interesting things about the recipe that I made last night, which was literally from a blog I've never heard of before, that recipe was having me mix the sugar and whole eggs and beat it for like until it tripled in volume.
Yep.
So, like, what are you doing when you make a cake? Like, you're trying to get air into things, or you're
I think it just depends, like, what kind. And, like, obviously you want lift. You don't want your cake to be, like, a dense brick.
Yeah.
Right? And so whatever recipe you pulled, did it have leavening in it also?
It did. It had baking powder.
Okay, yeah. But it was trying to make a very light, airy cake by you whipping the whole egg and the sugar together.
And that's because it's creating bubbles, and the bubbles will like push it up.
And the bubbles will push it up.
The recipe that I made last night had me microwave milk with butter in it. So basically the milk was hot and the butter was melted.
Okay. And did you stream the milk and the butter in?
I think stream would be a generous word for what I did.
You poured.
I poured, yeah.
All at once?
Not quite, but almost.
So, like, you made a sponge cake last night.
Oh, okay.
I mean, right? Like you said, you mixed whole egg and sugar.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And then you poured the milk and the butter. Right. So if you do that all at once, it's going to deflate your mixture that you work so hard to.
Actually, you know what I did? I had my flour. Oh, God damn it. What did I even do last night? I was like so dehydrated and so tired. But basically, I had like a batter basically that was really thick. And then I had my hot milk and butter. Okay. And then I put a scoop of the batter. Yeah. And then,
That's called like a sacrifice.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Woo, good recipe.
Yeah, you did it.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay, great.
And was it all homogenized before you added it back into the batter?
It was close, but I didn't want to. I was like, something that stuck in my head was like, you don't want to over mix flour,
Mm.
right? Because that like,
Well, I think because it's such a small portion, like that's
mm,
why it's kind of called a sacrifice. So
mm,
it's you want that to be fully incorporated because when you pour it back in and there's like milk or oil or butter,
mm,
um, that's not incorporated all the way, it's just going to sink to the bottom.
mm,
And then if you
mm,
haven't mixed that into the batter, then it's going to create problems when it's baking, which might
mm,
prevent it from like rising evenly because there's
mm,
heavy things like the milk and the butter haven't incorporated all the way.
Okay, amazing. I love that.
Were you
So
afraid of like gluten or something?
I guess, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's something in my head of like, if you over mix
Hmm.
some doughs, I don't know if it's cake batter or if it's cookie dough,
Yeah.
or whatever you're making is going to suck. Or it's going to be rubbery, or is that true? Like,
Yeah.
what's the deal with that?
Yeah, it is. But I think like you're preemptively being nervous about something that probably wasn't going to happen to you.
Honestly, story of my life.
Me too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, you know what? I think part of the fear mongering came from the recipe itself, which was like add the
Mm-hmm.
flour in like three different doses, mixing until just incorporated. And I was like, I read that as like, okay,
Uh-huh.
I shouldn't overmix this.
Well, the thing I think with that is that they're saying like they don't want you to over mix it because you're going to keep mixing once you've added like that small
Right.
portion back. So eventually it will all be the same.
Mm,
So isn't it better to sort of like undermix a little bit? Like if you were to fold whites in,
right.
even if you can see some streaks of whites, but you still have another thing to add into your cake batter,
Yeah.
I usually would undermix a little bit because you're going to keep mixing and it will get
Mm,
folded in all the
along the
way.
way. Cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have all of our wet ingredients mixed together and homogeneous. And then now we're getting our dry ingredients together.
Okay, so our dry ingredients, flour,
Mm-hmm.
leavener of choice. Usually it's a combination of baking powder, baking soda, salt, obviously.
Oh, you use a combination of baking powder and baking soda often?
I think most cakes have a combination, or
Mm,
maybe they just have one. Yours just
mm.
had baking powder?
Just baking powder, yeah.
Yeah.
Sift flour, don't sift flour.
I think that's a personal preference. I usually only sift my flour if I'm making a sponge because everything is so airy. You want it to sort of also be airy. If you pour flour in, like it's
Mm,
just going to sink also. If we're
mm,
talking about oil-based cakes, I really only sift if I see clumps,
mm.
but that's just me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Salt is kosher salt?
I use kosher salt.
Kosher salt,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you maybe mix those together with a fork or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Mix
Uh-huh.
those together with a fork and then you can pour, mix with a whisk,
Mm.
until you don't see any flour streaks.
Would you go wet slowly into dry or dry slowly into wet?
I think I go dry into wet.
Dry into wet. Yes,
Yeah.
okay. That's what I did last night. It
Yeah.
was like kind of like sprinkle a third, then
Yeah.
sprinkle half of that. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And go until you don't see any flour streaks anymore. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Or like lumps of any kind.
Mm. And at that point, we have a batter,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's your oven preheating to? What's next?
For a home oven, I would do 325,
Mm,
350 max, I think.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what size Le Creuset would you be using to cook this?
Mm.
What do I need? Like, I don't have a cake pan. Should I get a cake pan? Should I get a cake pan where you take the side off?
I think you just get a regular cake pan. You don't need like one that you can demold.
Mm,
Or you can do it in like a brownie square pan. I don't know
right.
if you
Yeah.
want.
Okay. So great. You've got your pan. You don't preheat the pan in the oven. I
You
would
do
imagine.
not. You
Do
preheat
not.
the oven. I usually spray my pans with a like veggie spray
Mm.
and
Like
a
vegetable oil spray.
yeah, or if
Yeah.
you want to butter it, if that's what you have.
Right.
And then I usually line it with parchment paper, just like the
Mm.
bottom, not the sides.
Mm. Mm.
So you would cut a circle out.
Oh, cut a circle out. Dear God.
I know. Or, you maybe don't have to and it won't stick to the bottom
Mine
if you don't want.
stuck. Mine stuck hard.
Okay.
So I
Right.
probably should have used parchment. I mean, the recipe wanted me to use parchment paper. Again, I'm not in my own home right now, so
Right, right.
I didn't have parchment paper. But why spray and parchment? Does that make the parchment stick to it, or is it
Well,
like?
yeah, so the parchment's sticking to the bottom, and then I usually spray the sides just to make sure like the crust on the cake is obviously it's on the sides, so
Mm,
it's just helping it not, get stuck.
totally. Okay. Is spray better than butter for stickage? Because I was smearing butter.
I don't know about better or anything. I just find
Mm,
it like easier.
yeah. Seems like it.
Yeah.
It's not
What were
that.
you doing? Like rubbing butter on
It
the
was a horrible
sides?
scene. Yeah, I was just remember like I just was imagining my mom doing that when I was a kid, and
We
like
should probably bake a cake together at some point.
I know, honestly, that would probably be the most instructive thing. But I just remember my mom like crumpled paper towel with like
Yeah,
nugget of
exactly.
butter, like
Exactly,
smear, smear,
exactly.
smear.
Yeah. I
Um,
think because most people have butter in their fridge. They don't
right,
have spray, like a veggie spray. But you could
totally,
also, if you had oil, you could rub oil on the sides like you were with butter.
totally. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
It seems like parchment paper is important.
I think so. Or a lot of home cake pans are like nonstick.
Mm,
So
mm,
that you probably don't need a piece of parchment paper.
okay, cool. I like that.
Yeah.
How do you cut a circle in for a pan? Like, are you flipping it upside down and like taking a pencil and then cutting it with
Yeah,
scissors,
I
or?
don't flip it upside down, but I'll just use it like upright on the bottom with a pencil or a pen, and then
Mm,
I'll cut it out and like put the pen side, like if there's any marking, that
mm,
put that down so it's not
down
like upright on the cake.
on the food, yeah.
Yeah, on the food. You can also buy circles,
Oh, that is
I
interesting.
mean,
Right.
just convenience.
Yeah, make your life easier.
Yeah.
So the cake is in the oven. Is it in the middle of the oven at
The
home?
cake's in the middle of the oven for sure.
Cool. Are
Yeah, and
you
if you
like,
have a thermometer in your oven, that's probably best because every oven is wrong, most likely.
right? Yeah, that's a good point. Like one of those things you just stand up on the
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
what is the ideal temperature? Like if you have a thermometer that's reading out the actual temperature, what are you aiming for?
I think like 350, 325.
350? Cool.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that's what we use at the bakery too. It's all the same,
sweet.
mostly.
Are you turning the cake while it's baking to like ensure even baking or?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do whatever the suggested time for baking is. I would like maybe check it halfway,
Mm-hmm.
turn it, or move it if you're like, whoa, this is like maybe too high of a middle, or like move it down if you need to, or just
Mm,
like kind of get a gut check of what it looks like. But turning it, yeah,
cool. Turn 180.
yeah,
Cool.
gently.
Gently, because
It's
why?
probably still wiggly.
Right. And
Yeah.
well, if you disturb it too much, will that take away from the leavening?
Yeah, it could if you like jostle it or
Mm,
like yeah, it gets a jolt, it will make it probably collapse a little.
cool. I wasn't sure what a cake should look like when it's done, and
Hmm.
so I took it out. The sides were like golden brown is also a hard word, I think, that is used often. I don't
Hmm.
know what golden brown means exactly.
Your cake last night looked golden brown.
That's cool. It got there. So I did it at first, and the sides were like a dark, like you're like getting your piece of toast like almost
Hmm.
all the way to Flavor Town
Yeah.
brown. And the top was like pale yellow, I would say. But the cake I also didn't have a toothpick or a cake tester, which do you recommend having one of those at home?
I mean, I think a toothpick or yeah, a knife or something,
I,
a skinny knife, like a
right.
paring knife.
Right. Yeah. I used all of my willpower not to like basically put my whole finger in there. Uh, but I ended up using a plastic fork, which
Okay.
worked okay.
Okay. Also,
Um,
like, did you feel comfortable just like touching the top and feeling if it like bounced back?
yeah, I did. And like, I didn't know how much to trust my sense of like
Mm.
if bounce means done. Cause I just feel
Hmm.
like if that image of like someone like lifting out a toothpick and having little crumbs on it
Hmm.
is so locked in my brain as like the way you check. But like,
Hmm.
are you doing that every time? Or are you like, how are you checking for
No,
doneness?
I'm
No,
checking with my finger.
finger.
I'm
And
just
you're sorry, go ahead.
I'm just touching the top. I
Yeah.
mean, we use cake testers like when we need to if we're really unsure, but yeah.
I wonder if you can zoom in on like what you're thinking about when you touch a cake like that. Like,
Uh-huh.
Like, because I feel like the top is going to get done before the middle gets done. So there's a world where
So the cake is baking from the out in.
Right.
What I'm looking for to know that it's done is like visually color for sure. Sometimes it will get color before it's definitely done though. But the time between, like, you're like, oh, it's getting dark brown, I'm nervous. It could be like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you know, like, so towards the end, things can happen really fast. So you'll just have to sort of like wait. You're like, oh, it needs like 2 more minutes. Cause like there's like just a little bit of difference between something that you can press in, but your finger dent is sort of in it a little bit versus like you touching it and it bounces up immediately, basically. And I would that done. But if you're putting your finger in and there's like a little bit of an indent, or your knife in and maybe it's mostly clean, but there's a little bit of wetness, it's probably like almost there.
And what if it comes out with dry crumbs? That means it's probably done. Like,
It's
you're looking
definitely
for like,
done.
yeah, okay.
Maybe a little, not over, but just like done.
Yeah.
Or it just comes out completely clean. Like, I guess I'm trying to think, like, mine aren't really coming out with like crumbs on them. It's just
clean.
There's nothing.
Yes, totally. Sometimes I feel like I've tested it and I'm like, whoa, maybe it just missed the wet spot when I put it in there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But if you're putting it in the middle, it probably isn't missing the wet spot, as long as you're, depending on how, if your cake is like really tall or something, if you're only sticking it like right in the middle, in the top, maybe I understand that.
Okay, cool. In terms of like doneness cues for the outside of it, like the outside of my cake, the perimeter of the cake was like crusty, crunchy, which I thought sounded good.
Yeah.
And the top,
like that. Yeah.
The top wasn't like that, and so I broiled it in the last for
Oh, this is getting better and better.
I just I'm trying to use my intuition, and when in doubt, I always broil whatever it is. And honestly, it works. Like the top got because it was bouncy, it was coming out clean, but there wasn't enough color, and so I just gave it more color.
I guess what did it matter if there wasn't enough color?
I guess I was just I was thinking about it like a piece of meat almost. I was just I was like, there's textural difference is good, and the caramelized crunch. The more caramelized crunch I can get on the outside, the more contrast there is with the tender inside. Is it so wrong?
It's so something a savory chef would do.
Totally.
I would say next time, don't broil it. Sometimes things on the top in the middle might not get the same color, and that's okay. Also, if it's a cake that's going to get covered and stuff, who cares?
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, is the frosting going to get rid of my beautiful crust I've formed?
Well, yeah. And maybe you're going to cut it off because maybe you're cutting the cake to be more level or something if it's doming. I don't know.
Right.
You know,
okay. Yes. Okay. So in a perfect world where I had flipped my cake out and it was perfect instead of not coming out and then crumbling into probably about 24 pieces.
How did it taste?
It was great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was yummy. It was light. It was I put a bunch of vanilla in it, so it was vanilla-y. I put some lemon zest in it. It was good. I mean, it wasn't it was just kind of it was like cake. You know what I mean? Talk to me about I guess are you letting it rest in the pan that it's cooked in afterwards?
I do that, but you could also flip it out. I would give it maybe 10 minutes after it comes out of the oven before you want to flip it out and put it on a wire rack to cool.
Okay, a wire rack that's off the ground, so there's
airflow. On a half sheet pan. But yeah, you can let it cool in the pan. If you're worried about it maybe sticking as it cools, it will probably adhere to the pan a little bit more, or so you can. I wouldn't pop it out right when it comes out because it's still very hot and structurally not not sound. You know, it needs to cool. But I would give it 10 minutes and try to pop it out then. Maybe 15, I don't know.
Nice. And then cool completely before moving on to something we haven't even touched on, which is frosting and decoration. Today's episode of To Taste is brought to you by marmalade. I am in Scotland right now, and yesterday I had an absolutely wonderful piece of toast with marmalade on it. So if there are any marmalade experts out there listening, I would love to interview you about marmalade, obviously. But without further ado, let's get back to my conversation with Sasha. I reached out to a pastry cook I know, and I was like, how do you make a buttercream? And they were like, you need a mixer, blah, 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 blah. Or like, there was like, I feel like
different kinds
and stuff like that. And like, I don't have a stand mixer.
Okay. Do you have a hand mixer?
No.
Ooh. Okay. Well, the only sort of like frosting I think you can make without a mixer is probably like a glaze that you can do in a bowl. You know, so like some sort of drizzle or something like that. Because like a frosting or like a buttercream, which is really all I use, is made with egg whites. So you need a stand mixer or a hand mixer. I've seen people use a hand mixer. It takes a little longer, but you can definitely do it. Other than that, you'll probably just need like a nice lemon glaze or something.
Okay. Talk to me about glaze. Like what is a glaze? How do you make a glaze?
Okay, so you can make a really simple glaze with powdered sugar, any sort of infusion you want to put, like whether it's lemon zest or I don't know, vanilla, etc., etc. Water. Sometimes you can put oil if you want to like infuse more flavor. And then the ratio, it just like the amount of water you put into the powdered sugar will determine the thickness or thinness of the glaze. So, you know, if you get like a loaf cake that has like a really thick glaze on it, it's just like a very thick set glaze.
Like higher proportion of powdered sugar.
Or like something really thin, like would be nice over like a cake that you would make at home, just like a single layer cake, just with like a thin glaze on it. That sounds nice too.
So just bowl powdered sugar, any flavor, water until it's at your desired thickness. Whisk. Like, do you have to whisk it a lot, or are you just whisking to combine? Is there any
warm water. Yeah, warm water to break down the powdered sugar. Usually you want to sift the powdered sugar because it can be really clumpy. But the water will also help with that. If you don't have a sifter, you can just like the water. If you keep stirring it or whisking it, it will break down most of the powdered sugar, I think. And warm water is helpful. And you can't mess it up. Like if it's too thick, you can add more water. If it's too thin, you can add more powdered sugar.
Cool. And then are you like, can that go immediately on a cool cake after you're done, after it's incorporated? Cool. Yeah. I feel like my mom, podcast like happens to be about my mom now.
Love it.
Uses always, but I'm just remembering my mom like mixing powdered sugar and butter.
Okay, yes, you could do that. But she had a mixer, right?
She must have. She had a hand mixer.
She had a hand mixer for sure. You could probably make American buttercream by hand, which is just, you know, butter, powdered sugar. That could be done by hand. But any sort of more traditional buttercream, whether it's like Italian or Swiss or whatever, that needs meringue, I don't see how that might be possible.
Okay, well, let's talk about American buttercream. So American buttercream, do you know about that?
I do. I just like, it's not a buttercream that I use ever.
Because it's
very sweet.
Very sweet. Huh.
Yeah, it's just so much powdered sugar and butter. Some people add some like cream cheese, which is like nice for tang. It's just not my preferred buttercream. It's just like the cloying sweetness of it. It's just too sweet for me.
Too sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
But that would be mixing a lot of powdered sugar into a lot of room temperature butter is how you would make that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any flavoring and maybe a little salt or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
What about...
And you can add some milk in it too. Like you can add like to soften it or lighten it up or...
Right. Okay, cool. So that is like a very basic, you're throwing together a cake, you don't have a mixer, softened butter, powdered sugar, milk to loosen. What about like a cream cheese frosting?
So cream cheese frosting is, I think it's just cream cheese, butter, powdered sugar.
Oh, okay. So that's another, like you could do it by hand. It's going to be like...
Yeah, you definitely could do that by hand.
Those things are heavy and sweet and not very elegant.
Yeah, I think the only like saving grace for cream cheese frosting is that there's cream cheese in it. So it's like got like a nice tang.
tang, right? Which I guess if you were making like the American buttercream, maybe you could add like lemon juice to loosen it,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
mm,
Yeah. I
mm,
have a friend, a baker friend who uses American buttercream and she basically uses part cream cheese to make it nice and tangy and
mm.
take a little bit away from the sweetness.
I have my cake. That's honestly, maybe I should just show you. One sec, I'll be right back. Okay, I have returned. So my cake, if you can really even call it that, from last night is here. I didn't have plastic wrap. It is on the lid of the Le Creuset.
Oh, smart. Perfect.
This is what it's looking like here. I haven't looked at it today.
Okay. This is the other one you made. Oh, wait. No, that's the one you sent me.
This is the broken one. The other one I made is like pretty quickly went into the trash because it was
Oh,
basically
okay.
a hockey puck. I have a birthday party I'm going to later.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, could I make this? I was like, maybe I could frost all the way over it and like make enough like thick frosting so that it's
Hmm.
like, it's a cake, I promise. But then I was thinking like, could I make like a cake salad, like a panzanella sort of like
Hmm.
cake pieces, like frosting swirled through what, like, what?
Well, how broken is it? It looks pretty broken.
I mean, this is like a pretty awesome piece, I would
That
say, in
piece is,
terms
yeah. Okay,
really
great.
beautiful.
There's
That's
some big
another.
chunks.
There's some big chunks, but then there's also some small chunks, and it has dried out a little bit, but it is food.
Yeah. I mean, part of me thinks you can just cover it up with some frosting, but yeah, you're gonna make it by hand, the frosting? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So what would your like what would your
Okay,
suggestion
so I
be?
don't suggest a glaze because the glaze you'll just be able to like
See
see
everything,
everything.
but I wonder
Maybe
if
you need to make cream cheese frosting. Or you just like use the big pieces and you make some weird shape and frost it all together.
oh, now that is interesting. Knowing myself, I think that would probably look like shit because I'm not like I don't really have that delicate of a hand, but frosting, frosting, frosting. Okay.
I think you could save it. I think you should definitely try to make something with it.
I think so too. I
Why
don't
don't you make like a trifle
right,
where
right,
you
right,
have
right.
cake pieces, you can whip cream,
Uh-huh.
berries, layer.
Yeah, because I guess that's normally sponge, right? And like
Yeah.
trifle.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I think it's fine if it's that. The cake pieces are already broken up. Maybe you can find a vessel. You can,
Interesting.
you can even like make some sort of soak if you want. I think you can save it and anything you can just cover with whipped cream and like put some fruit on top. It's gonna
Yeah.
look so nice.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the confidence. Can you like talk a little bit about your like decorating like philosophy? Like I see like
Hmm.
rivers of jam and like,
Yeah.
pools of I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, curd and stuff. Yeah. I think I'm trying to just highlight as much stuff from the farmer's market as possible
Mm.
and not have it be super flower focused, but obviously like that plays a big part for like visuals. So whether that's like peak fruit when it's happening or candied stuff in the winter, or like fresh citrus. Um, yeah, I'm really trying to pack it in there sometimes.
I saw like something you had, let's say I made a note here, is like fig leaf and
Mm.
lemon verbena. Like where were those flavors going into the cake? Was that in the
Yeah,
frosting?
that's
Is
like
that
a
in the
very popular cake. I started like while I was working from home in the pandemic. Okay, the fig leaf is infused into the a pastry cream.
mm,
So it's like dried fig leaves, or fresh.
hmm
I think we use fresh. Um, and then dried lemon verbena that's like pulverized into a powder that's
hmm
going into the base of the chiffon cake.
mm,
So it's like whipped with the sugar,
mm,
which is like a good way to infuse flavor.
mm.
And or you could also do it into like a soaker if you're somebody that uses a milk soak. I don't typically use soaks.
Huh. Soak
Yeah,
is after it's baked before it's layered
correct.
and
Layered.
frosted.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Nice.
So I think we did like it was like lemon verbena chiffon cake, fig leaf pastry cream, and like usually like a stone fruit jam.
Wow, that
Yeah.
sounds so good. Pastry cream is another type of frosting.
No, so pastry cream is like we use it as a filling. I know there is a I can't remember the kind of buttercream it is, but you can make a buttercream out of like a pastry cream base. And you're basically like making a pastry cream, which is like milk, egg yolk, sugar, like a little bit of butter, cornstarch, and you're thickening it. It's like kind of like you were to maybe make like a creme anglaise base, but like not like that. But you can make a pastry cream into a buttercream by like mounting in more butter. I've never done it and I can't remember what kind it is. Maybe it's a German buttercream. I can't remember.
Wow. I want to talk a little bit more about buttercream and maybe just get a couple like frosting tips from you for people at home that like do have a mixer, do want to frost a cake. Like what's your like go-to buttercream? What European country is it from?
So I use a Swiss buttercream, Swiss meringue buttercream, which is you'll do egg white, sugar over a double boiler, and you heat it till it's like about 160, and then you'll transfer it into a bowl with a whisk, and then you'll whip the meringue until it's mostly cool to the touch the bowl, and then you can add in your butter.
So are you whipping? That's in a stand mixer?
Yeah.
You heat egg whites and sugar, and
You're
then you
making
whip
meringue,
it.
basically. Yeah, you're whipping it.
Until it's like soft peak vibes?
I don't do it by the peak. I mostly do it by the feel of the bowl because it should be like pretty much hard peaks or so by the time it's mostly cooled or cool to the touch, like the bottom of the bowl. And then you can start adding your butter like little by little.
And that's melted butter or that's
no, just
butter?
like room temperature butter, softened butter.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so that is getting whipped into the egg whites. And that's it? Is that all that's in a Swiss buttercream?
And salt and whatever flavor you want.
Wow. So it's basically a buttery Swiss meringue.
Yeah, and I like it because it's super light and airy. You can spread it around easily. I think it's great for infusions. And it's pretty stable. I also know a lot of pastry chefs that use Italian buttercream, which I think is where you heat a sugar syrup and you whip egg whites in the bowl and you pour the sugar syrup into the egg whites.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only made that one a couple of times, but I also know that one's very stable. It's just, I've just been making Swiss buttercream for so long. It's like what I know.
That's cool. How would you infuse stuff into that?
You would put it in at the end. So if you wanted to add vanilla, you put it in at the end when you're like after maybe most of the butter's incorporated or all the butter's incorporated. You can add olive oil, like endless possibilities. If you wanted to add something that's like maybe like dried, like a leaf or something like that, I would probably add that into the sugar when you're making the meringue or jam at the end.
Jam? Oh, you could like put a dollop of jam in there.
Dollop of jam. If you wanted to make like a strawberry buttercream, we fold like curd into it at the end to make like a very rich like lemon curd buttercream, and it like makes it yellow. It's really nice.
The buttercream feels like the most intimidating part of this so far to me.
Have you made meringue before?
Once or twice.
Okay.
I guess I need a mixer, it sounds like. Really,
yeah, I think if anything, a hand mixer.
Hand mixer,
I did a tutorial over the pandemic about cake making, and one person in the class only had a hand mixer, and he made buttercream.
Nice.
Cool. I know it's possible. That's
cool.
like a lower entry level,
A way to get in, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any frosting techniques for people at home? I know you were saying like at a certain point, maybe when you're at Justa, you were like not even comfortable frosting.
Yeah. I mean, I think having like a turnstile is helpful, but like most people don't. I think an offset spatula is like if you need one thing, I think that's maybe essential. And then you can basically do anything like if you only have a plate, etc. I would say making sure that the buttercream isn't have a bunch of like air pockets in it. So like when it's whipping and you've added the butter in, like usually I switch the whisk for the paddle so it not like flattens it, but you want to kind of get rid of like a lot of the air that you've made, because if you're using like a Ziploc or a piping bag to make like a little dam for something you're going to like fill the cake to layer it, they're like little air pockets form, so the paddle helps to like get that out, and then just like using a spatula after to sort of like go over the buttercream in the bowl to make sure it's all even, you don't have any like butter chunks, and it's super smooth. Is that helpful?
Yeah, no, totally. Absolutely. What are like common issues that you think people might run into in the cake process but now specifically, I guess, in the frosting zone?
Either the buttercream maybe being like too cold or too warm can create problems. So depending on like the ambient temperature in your room can really like mess with the butter. And so sometimes if like butter's too cold and you're adding it to the buttercream, it will cause it to seize. And like you can tell visually, like it will start to just kind of look like a thing of butter and not like this like light airy thing that you've made. You can always fix it. Like a torch can fix anything. I keep buttercream in the fridge. I pull it out and I can like re-whip it to make it like super beautiful and usable. So like, or if you get nervous and you start adding your butter when everything is too warm, it will make it like separate or curdle or soupy, but you just need to like stick it in the fridge. I think like those are the common things that either you're going like too extreme one way or too extreme the other way.
Cool. You want it to be like normal room temperature.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, sometimes we'll like take buttercream out like the night before and like I'm trying to use it in the morning and it's just, it like, sometimes something will break before it comes back together, but it will come back together.
Through mixing more?
Through mixing more, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think like people are afraid of like over mixing. And I would say buttercream, like mixing more is probably better. Like you're not gonna, I mean, unless you're mixing it for like an hour, I don't think you're not gonna break it.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. What about with like actually like putting together the cake? Like I'm imagining like having a layer and the frosting in the middle, squishing out the sides.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about like a layer cake, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So making sure everything is cool, and then making sure you're piping kind of the right amount of buttercream on the side.
You're always piping. You can't just like scoop and swoosh.
You can scoop and swoosh for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. Scoop and swoosh. That's like a easy way where you don't need to use like extra things. You'll just make like a little dam, push it up on the sides with like a spoon or an offset or something like that. Totally. And then not filling the center with whatever you're going to fill it with too much, because once you put the cake down, it's going to kind of push things out a little bit. So not overfilling.
And what's the ideal ratio of cake to frosting?
I think that is like the most subjective question. Like it just like depends on who you ask that question to.
And what if I asked you?
Yes. So for me, I like the flavor of cake, but I also really like the filling. So I try to pack as much as possible. I think like maybe if you're like, whoa, this cake baked this high, like I would just cut it in half so you can like have a thinner piece of cake to like more equal amount of filling.
Cool.
So more even, I guess.
Nice. I guess it also seems like if you make a nice buttercream, it's a little bit less of an important question, because I feel like when I've had cake where I'm like, this is too much frosting, the frosting's probably like an American buttercream or like something that's like not so pleasant to eat a bunch of, cloying.
Yeah, I think part of like the thing, at least like on the professional side, is like a lot of people are like, I don't want so much buttercream. And so that's like a lot of pastry chefs use, gelatin or things that they can set all of their fillings with. So you have no buttercream on the outside of your cake, because the buttercream on the outside is basically like holding the structure together. But like, I find that when I make cake, like layer cakes, the buttercream on the outside is like so thin. It's like barely even noticeable. I'm not putting like this much. It is just like whatever the thinnest amount is, but it still is structurally sound. If we're talking about like on top of the cake, I think that just depends what you want. I don't want too much buttercream either, whether it's like Swiss or anything like that.
Cool. Yeah. All right. I get that. Do you have any like final words for someone like me at home that is intimidated by cakes, but wants to make a cake?
I mean, I feel like start with this really simple recipe. Maybe that's an oil-based cake and not something where you need to make meringue like a sponge, or something that feels tried and true. Martha, she's got great recipes.
Do you have other books you like that are like your Bibles on learning how to bake and make cake?
I mean, anything Martha for sure. Her teen has some good cake bases in there too. Those tend to be more sponge-like cakes though.
Cool. I love Martha. I guess mine doesn't go to Martha for some reason, but I should probably get one of her cookbooks.
I just feel like for like a home baker, like Martha she's got some good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, especially after just having made what I would consider mostly a failure of a cake. It was nice to just like really dive deep into all the considerations.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. Also, I think you should send me a picture later of your trifle that you're going to put together.
I will definitely update you on my trifle. And share I did. You can find a picture of the trifle along with others from my failed cake experiment on our Instagram at @TwoTastePodcast. Special thanks to Sasha, whose baked goods you can find at Canyon Coffee, The Community Goods, and Little's Coffee, among others. You've been listening to Two Taste, hosted by me, Cody Reiss, with art by Ben Butson Jelly, and music by Justin Kohlberg of Moonrun. If you like this episode, consider giving us a follow, setting alerts for episodes, and maybe even giving us a review. You might also like my Substack of food and travel writing, which also happens to be called To Taste. Go make a cake, let me know how it goes, and who you want me to interview next. Love you. Or sleep well. Good night.